pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, Des Moines County Board of Supervisors, October 26, 2021. Are there any changes to the tentative agenda? I have none. I have none. We have an agenda. Meet with department heads, elected officials. Sarah Doty, Payroll Deputy Auditor's Office.
Good morning. It's Red Ribbon Week. I see a few out there.
Mine's still on my desk. I'll get it.
But other than that, just staying busy. Nothing new to report.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Lisa Schaefer, Des Moines County Attorney.
Just staying busy.
Colin Gerst, IT.
Just keep busy like always. I don't really got nothing new to report. We're doing some kind of large upgrades upstairs right now. It's gonna keep us pretty busy here the next couple of weeks, so, I appreciate the department heads, having a little bit more patience here the next couple of weeks while we kind of work through some of these upgrades, but other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you. Kevin Glendenning, Des Moines County Sheriff.
Hi, good morning. No major news from the sheriff's office. Jail's holding steady at 76, four out of town.
Thanks, Kevin. Terry Johnson, Des Moines County Auditor.
Good morning. The congressional or legislators received proposed Plan 2 for redistricting and reprecincting. So it looks like there'll be a few changes for Des Moines County if they go with that direction. We'll have 2 Senate districts for the first time that I know of. And we'll still have our 2 House districts within the state. And so we'll have to do a little revamping and rechecking, and I'll be in contact with GIS to help with the population and all of that, deciding whether we're gonna keep all precincts open or not. Right now, I think our biggest decision, or one of the big things I'm gonna look at, is possibly two rivers, levee and drainage. We have a precinct down there, but it's always difficult to get poll workers down there, so that might be a possible place that we might change, but it all depends on populations whenever we get the census information for all the townships and everything. So, but that's one of the things we wanna look at, and
And all
right
that's
now,
predicated on the approval of that redistricting plan?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it'll be, every 10 years, we do the whole thing, is look at our precincts, if we're gonna keep all the precincts, or if we need to move the lines in any of the precincts.
But it isn't finalized until they approve that plan?
Well, that will be, our
Is this the
precincts will be
final plan?
something we look at whenever they decide
Okay,
their plan.
whenever they decide.
So,
Okay.
yeah, then we look at everything, that's when we do the whole revamping all together, so. And the last time we did that was 10 years ago, and in Burlington, we went down from 12 precincts down to 9. So, and for our current city school election, we're up to 166 absentees. In 2019, we had 219, so getting close. Depending, I think it's been quite regularly or busy out at the window with absentee voters, so we'll see how that pans out. So, and then Friday and Monday, the office will be open till 5 p.m. We're required to be open till 5, so. And that's it.
Thank you, Terry.
Staying busy, lots of election stuff.
Natalie Stepner, Des Moines County Recorder.
Good morning. Kathy Beach and I today are going to attend an Iowa Land Records seminar that's out at Pizzazz. I invited you guys to it if you want to attend. Just going to have banks and abstractors and attorneys' offices. We'll be there. Iowa Land Records will be putting it on, and it's who we use for all the electronic real estate filing. So otherwise, just business as usual.
Thank you. Natalie. Zach James.
Yeah, good
Wayne
morning.
Peters.
Sorry, I'm running
I was gonna
late.
let you catch your breath.
I did, I was jogging up the stairs. Things are going well. Got a floodplain permit, actually got get the fee paid here, and then we've got a couple subdivisions that kind of in the works. so those may be coming in front of you here in the next few weeks. We have our Planning and Zoning Commission meeting tomorrow night for discussion, review, recommendation on the zoning and subdivision ordinances. So those will be coming your way here probably sometime in November. And we also have airport approach regulation ordinance too that we've been working on a long time ago, but that's just got it sent over to the county attorney's office to Trent yesterday to start a review on that too. So I've been busy with those. Otherwise, not.
Is our RFQ for a
It's
construction manager
it's
coming?
slowly coming along. I'm gonna be gone the end of this week. My goal is to get it together here before I leave. So hopefully we'll have it to you this week. So I apologize. It's just been.
You don't need to
been
apologize as
very
long as you
crazy.
show up with it.
What's that?
I said you don't need to apologize as long as you show up
Yeah,
with
we'll get it here
That's
hopefully
it.
this week.
it. Get it together.
Yeah. I know.
Thank you, Zach.
No, thank you.
Brian Carter, Secondary Roads.
Good morning. Couple projects wrapped up. Flint Bottom opened up. I sent you guys a text and we did a press release. So that did open up. Our short little dirt road upgrade on 235th, it did wrap up. There's still some seeding to be done, but that project did get done, and I'd like to get you guys up there sometime to take a look at that. The Pleasant Grove project, they're still hoping to do a couple weeks worth of work yet. Obviously the rain there over the weekend push that back just a little bit, but they're talking about maybe mobilizing some equipment in yet this week. But they have rain in the forecast again Thursday, so we'll see what's going on there. And then last week they had a crew in for 2 days doing a crack sealing project on Mediapolis Road, East Mediapolis down to Highway 99. That was an inconvenience for a couple days, but they're done and out of there. So kind of either buttoning things up a little bit or pushing things back to next spring, but our crews are still going strong, trying to get the last few things done. Weather finally kicks us out. So.
Thanks, Brian. Rodney Buisner, Maintenance.
Good morning. Attended a business technology conference last week. Talked about healthy buildings and all different types of security and technology. So I went to some seminars that was really interesting. Had the Fire Marshal's annual inspection out the care facility, went well. We had a few minor things, got those already taken care of. So it's kind of an annual deal. Other than that, just getting ready for the winter months. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney. Ken Heineman, Community Services.
Good morning. Our management team's gonna meet on Friday this week. We used to meet on Thursdays, the same day as commission meetings, but now that Sarah Barrett's on the commission, we can't meet that date anymore. And so you'll see me gone on Fridays a lot, once a month, to these management team meetings. We're gonna work on a list of legislative talking points, so when we invite the legislators to our board meeting at governing board, we'll have some talking points. We're gonna work on gathering our lists of capital items and salaries and things like that for the whole 8 counties, so that we can look at all that. We're doing Hope Haven contract amendment. We had a meeting with Hope Haven about their new IPS service for supported employment, and that would require a change in their contract, and they also had some other things they wanted to change in their budget. So Tammy was in on that meeting too, and that'll go to the management team first, and then we'll decide if it goes on to the governing board. So just normal business, but keep it busy.
Thanks, Ken. Krista Poggemiller, Local Health.
Good morning. We continue to be busy. Currently, we have a 11% for Des Moines County positivity rate for COVID with 91 cases in the last 7 days. That'll update again tomorrow. Vaccinations, we're continuing to vaccinate out at Southeastern Community College Fairgrounds, and we're doing that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8:30 to 4. Last week, they approved the boosters for the Moderna, the Pfizer, as well as the Johnson & Johnson. And so we are giving boost doses as well as first and second doses Anyone that had Pfizer or Moderna can get a boost dose 6 months after they receive their second dose if they're either 65 and older or the 18 and older and have underlying health conditions. And then for the Johnson & Johnson, same criteria apply, but they can get a boost dose 2 months after their after their Johnson & Johnson. Other than that, we've got a vaccination rate for the county at 18 and older is 56.8% and 65 and older is 81.2%.
Thanks, Krista. Janelle Nalilonquist, Des Moines County Treasurer. I see you hiding back there.
Good morning. We're just keeping busy. We're getting ready to print November delinquent notices. So those will go out at the end of the week or actually the beginning of next week, but just keeping busy.
Thank you, Janelle. Angie Vaughn, Safety.
Good morning. I just want to remind everyone, especially the department heads, how important it is to make sure that your employees are attending the safety meetings. We've seen an increase in incidents during this COVID year, which is common. I mean, we've seen it nationwide, but we're not kicking it back into gear now that we're doing the trainings again every month. And when it is not put in the forefront of people's minds, we do have more accidents, and we've seen a pretty good size increase. So please make sure you take the time to get your employees to the trainings. It's 30 minutes a month, and it could make all the difference in the world on them making a bad choice or making a good choice in certain situations. So just a reminder, and that's it.
Thanks, Angie. If I could piggyback on that, it's not as important as keeping people safe and, you know, the problem of somebody getting hurt. Sure, heard me talk in the past, there's such a thing as the experience modification factor. They figure out what your premiums are, how many people are employed, and then they throw in how much accidents cost, and that number keeps. We were getting checks anywhere from 25 to almost $60,000 a year back from workman's compensation. We didn't get a check this year. Our EMR is sneaking back up there, and as the EMR goes back up, not only do our premiums go up, but we didn't, if you don't get a dividend, and like I said, we usually get dividends. We did not get a dividend this year, so I encourage you for 30 minutes a month or whatever, that's important. It is not nearly as important as having the people you work with and are friends with go home every night in one piece and be able to come back to work the next day.
Well, and be able to do normal things.
Yeah, go home and
Rake
see
their
their
leaves,
families.
mow their yard, go to their grandkids or kids' football game. You know, it's very, very important, and it does make a difference. Even if the topics don't directly relate to you, just keeping people thinking about it. I've seen it over and over again over the years. It makes a huge difference. And we've seen the result. I mean, we took some time off during COVID. Our numbers are not anything like we are. I know departments, we're calling it, safety people and insurance people are calling it COVID exhaustion. And I get it, guys. We've got so many stresses. We've got so many things going on. Something's got to give. But making sure our employees are staying healthy and not getting hurt, that's not where we want to let it slide. We need to figure out how to make it work.
I agree. Thank you, Angie. Is there, okay, I didn't miss anybody. Okay. Correspondence. I had none.
I have none.
Proceed to discussion and vote. We need a public hearing for the amended ATV UTV ordinance number 56.
I move that we go into public hearing.
Second. Sarah.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. The ATV UTV ordinance was updated, well, originally I think the state changed the definition of a couple of things, and then I believe the recorder and the sheriff both made small tweaks to that, so it's.
Trent actually from Lisa's office made some recommendations, and then we had a work session, and we all agreed on those changes, and we made the edits, and Natalie's reviewed it, I reviewed it, and Trent's reviewed it, and everybody was good with everything in there, so.
Good, and I have, what I'm trying to say is I would just as soon not have to read the whole ordinance. So if anybody has any comments or questions, if anybody watching this stream, you may email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's BOARD@dmcounty.com. You may call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-753-8203, extension 4. We will give you a couple minutes. If somebody watch your watch for me, my official timer isn't here. And we'll give you to call or email in with any comments or questions you might have. Did the auditor's office receive any email?
Yeah, we have.
Okay. While we're waiting, Chris Lee, Conservation.
Good morning, sorry I was late, had a meeting go a little long this morning. Just getting ready to wind down the parks, still had a full campground this last weekend. We will be shutting the water off at most of our parks except Big Hollow next Monday. But we'll leave it on in Big Hollow until we're at risk of freezing. We still do have a lot of folks that want to camp up there, so otherwise just kind of moving into the fall maintenance mode.
You missed my, Angie's and mine safety spiel, so accidents have been creeping up, and with all the unintended and unpleasant consequences. So encourage you and your staff to training, what is it, 30 minutes a month or?
On average, I mean, sometimes it goes over. This month it was 20.
Okay, anyway, so just encourage each department to participate and try to get that under control.
And just to piggyback off the, last week we talked about the online training, which is great, but that's not a substitute for face-to-face training. One of the problems with it, and one of my concerns when I brought it out was what I train for like your people compared to what I would train for like Terry's people. The conversations we have would be very different. So the training I do at City Hall. So what I'm saying to them and the conversations we're having may not fit with what I would have with your people on the same subject.
Sure.
It may still be very different. And nothing substitutes face-to-face where they can have that conversation. Sitting in front of a computer is great, looking at that stuff, but it's real easy to get distracted by taking phone calls, doing some paperwork you gotta do, and not really let it sink in like it would on a
2 minutes is up whenever you're ready.
You have the annual schedule of when all the training's on?
Yes.
Okay, can you send me that?
Yeah, and anyone who needs trainings done differently, different times, needs a schedule set up, I can come out to your guys' offices. I mean, if that would be the easiest way, you guys just let me know what you need and we'll make it work.
Or if you have a particular problem in any particular department that you would like addressed, I'm sure Angie would be more than happy to come up with training to suit that situation.
She's been good to work with in the past for us. We've done some specialty stuff and she's helped us line up and stuff like that, so.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, back to the business at hand. Our 2 minutes are up, so we need to, if there are no further comments, we'll need a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close public hearing.
Second, Sarah.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Okay. We will have our first vote on the amended ATV, UTV ordinance number 56. Need a motion to approve.
I'm sorry, I move to approve.
Second, Sarah.
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Well, we have the county attorney here. I think we talked about it last time, that on the second reading, we can waive the third reading. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we need a public hearing for resolution number 2021-045 to transfer 2,079 square feet of property.
Move that we go into public hearing.
City of Burlington. Second, Sarah.
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker,
Aye. Some of you might remember the city was here a few weeks ago, and apparently they need 2,000 of the county's most valued property. We reluctantly acceded to their demands so that they can get the Tiger grant. So if anybody in the public has any comments or questions about this, you may email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com, that's BOARD@dmcounty.com, or call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-753-8203, extension 4. We'll give you 2 minutes to initiate that email or call. In the meantime, is there any comments from anyone in attendance? Did the auditor's office receive any emails or?
No, we have not. For the parcel that we so lovingly call Supervisor's Island.
Supervisor's Island. We were,
sad to see it go.
That's
It-
how,
it-
that's how we keep on top of what parcel we're talking about.
we were looking at annually 6 figures of income to turn that into a tourist spot. And,
Missing out on all that good money.
City didn't show any inclination to replace that revenue.
Me too now.
Yes.
Aye.
But I guess that's that. When did they started on that Tiger grant? When did they started?
Yeah, they already started busting up concrete. I think they started early last week. But yeah, they think they're gonna be able to get a lot done. So. I don't know, though. That's their problem, Tom. As long as they don't screw up Supervisor Island, that's what we get it all.
I'm hoping they handle that when they get
Screw
blood.
that up.
Use up 30 seconds.
Okay. 2 minutes are up, so we need a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close public hearing.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker,
Aye. And need a motion to approve the resolution.
I move that we approve resolution 2021-045.
Second, Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Well, the city takes good care of it.
They better.
You know some people over there, don't you?
I hear it
Bring it
too.
up, bring it up with them.
I'm not sure they wanna know him, but
They don't like to talk to me anymore. I don't think my picture's up down there anymore in the hallway.
Did they like to talk to you before?
I'm sorry, excuse me? You know BC?
Just trying to get all the details.
Okay, we have a proclamation for Red Ribbon Week. Whereas, in October of 1985, federal agent Kiki Camarino was murdered by the drug cartel in Mexico in the line of duty. Friends and neighbors wore red to honor his memory and to show that they would continue his fight against illegal drugs, believing that one person can make a difference. And whereas the problems associated with alcohol, tobacco, and the use of illicit drugs have become prevalent in every community regardless of size and location. And whereas the National Family Partnership is established October 23rd through October 31st of every year as America's Red Ribbon Week for schools and communities to celebrate a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And whereas ADS, in partnership with area businesses and schools, has adopted the mission statement to increase the focus of promoting a healthy lifestyle through the collective effort and involvement of all citizens in our community by supporting the non-use of illegal drugs and responsible use of legal substances, thus enhancing the quality of life through a safer community. And now, therefore, as 2021 marks the 36th year for this nationally recognized substance abuse prevention campaign, we, the supervisors of Des Moines County, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through 31st as Red Ribbon Week in Des Moines County, Iowa, and that all citizens shall be encouraged to wear a red ribbon to symbolize our commitment to establishing drug-free communities for our children, for our citizens, especially our children, and to participate in events throughout the week that support a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. Signed and sealed this 26th day of October 2021.
Hear, hear. I move that we approve
Second.
Red Ribbon Week proclamation.
Second. Sarah.
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker,
Aye. We have personnel actions. We have one personnel action for the Correctional Center. Zachary Rudisell, a part-time correctional officer. Resignation. He resigned October 19th, never starting on the start date of October 20th.
I move to approve.
Second. Doug must have scared him off.
Had second thoughts.
yeah.
Didn't make it through orientation.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker.
Aye.
Yeah, didn't make it to the start date.
Okay, and we have two personnel actions for the sheriff's office. We have Derek Gordy, deputy, schedule changed from the 74.77 hour schedule to the 80-hour schedule. Yearly salary is currently at $62,809.51. That's just a change in the days or the hours they work,
Just
right?
moving to a lateral position.
Yeah. And Charles Thompson, part-time courthouse security, is July 1st annual pay increase. The previous rate was $867, the new rate was $1923. This is a bookkeeping error. Somehow that never got entered on the letter of appointment they send out, so I think that was close to the time they hired him, so I imagine it probably got mixed up.
Yeah, it came after the letter of appointment. He's helped fill in on some part-time courthouse security. We just want to make it consistent with the pay, so.
Yeah.
I move to approve both personnel actions.
Second, Sarah.
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have reports. We have the clerk of courts report of fees collected for the month ending September 2021. And the auditor's report of fees collected for the quarter ending September 30th, 2021. These reports will be on file at the auditor's office and available for review, public review. We We have minutes for the regular meeting of October 19th, 2021.
I move to approve minutes.
Second. Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Any other business? I have none.
I'll deal with my business later. It's not anything important.
Okay.
I do know.
Yes, there's a story.
Or something.
Future agenda items?
We'll just have to put the public hearings back on for next.
We'll have to have a work session to discuss our upcoming RFQ.
Yeah, if you want to do a work session. I was wondering too, when we get to this point, if you guys want to do a work session for those ordinance updates too, before we present them for approval.
For the,
Zoning and subdivision.
probably should, yeah, probably should.
And that'll be a few weeks out. but-
Yeah, we probably should.
What are you
Let me
finalizing
know
on the
when.
airport? Is that a done deal?
It's, I sent it over to the county attorney's office. I was supposed to meet with you, wasn't
Well, but after we talked, I pretty much,
Yeah.
I still got my own paperwork on
I?
that.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, so the check, but count on, we'll put that RFQ work session on next week.
For next week, and then what, 3 weeks for the ordinance?
Tentatively, yeah.
Okay,
I'll let you know. but-
okay.
Committee reports.
I have nothing to report.
I attended the Zoom meeting yesterday, it wasn't very well attended, but the Iowa Environmental Council, Mike North sent it out, they had a couple people, they were discussing the Burlington Generating Station, the coal-fired plant down there, they're going to convert that to a gas plant for use during peak energy demands, you know, when it's busy, and I read the executive summary, it'll take me a little longer, quite a bit longer to read the entire report. It was interesting, they had statistics on, when they try to estimate job loss, they said, well, if you lose a job, you're gonna lose, that affects the restaurant industry a little bit, then maybe the railroads that aren't delivering coal, it's I inquired about electrical grid reliability, when you rely more and more on less reliable energy sources. And there's been, California's a mess, then they had that horrible scene in Texas anyway, so they said that was a good question. Really, that would be more for Alliant. Anyway, it was interesting. And that's all one thing before I forget, I'll tell this to Kevin. I was gonna attend a meeting out at the jail. I think it.
Samuel's group today.
Yeah, anyway, they're having, the ARP, NACO's having a webinar, they had one yesterday, and they're gonna have one today. I think my time would be, I'd like to know what's going on with that. They might be changing it if they pass this piece of legislation so the counties that get less than $10 million aren't bound so much by the rules for unreported income and could use it more than unreported income for county needs to, like it was lost revenue is the way I understood it. Did you get to see that,
No, I did
Terry?
not.
I talked to Cheryl a little bit, she watched it. Anyway, so that might work out very well for us. But, so anyway, so if you tell Doug I'm not gonna.
I'll be out there.
Oh, you're gonna be out there?
I'll be sure to brief you guys on the cost.
Yeah, if you would, and
the benefits.
then give me a call or something like that, and see what that's doing, so. something we can have a work session on. Okay. Public input. If anybody from the public would like to address the board, any comments or questions, you may email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's BOARD@dmcounty.com. You may call 319-753-8203 extension 4. That's 319-753-8203 extension 4. We'll give you 2 minutes if you're hitting me
Got it.
to initiate that call for that email. While we're waiting, are there any comments from the group in attendance?
So what does the ARP stand for? Every time I hear
American
that, I
Rescue
think you're
Plan.
getting old, Tom, and this.
American Rescue Plan.
American Rescue,
That's where
okay.
they gave, well, they gave like $67 billion directly to counties. They're giving it directly to cities, states, tribal units, tribal governments. Anyway, they're giving $67 billion directly to counties. They're giving like $611 million, I believe, directly to Iowa counties.
Wow.
To spend. I'm gonna be careful what I say anyway, so.
Upon
so-
approval.
Yes.
Upon approval, and for what, I view the whole economic sense of it, it's not very attractive. But I think when you, no good comes throwing $1 million or $1 trillion into the economy and just letting it land without creating additional resources, because money isn't money, it represents resources. If there are no additional resources, there's only one place that money can go, and that's into inflation. But that's, regardless, Des Moines County, and I think most counties are gonna try to use that to our best advantage to do what we can to make good investments with it.
Was
That's
the county able
certainly
to
the board's
show,
intention.
was
Excuse
the
me?
county able to show a revenue shortfall?
Yes. I don't know that we have the final numbers, but they give you a specific formula. You plug this in and you take out federal revenues. So it tells you what year to compare it to. So anyways, but yes, there's a revenue shortfall, but I don't think it wouldn't total up to the, maybe the whole amount. And if this particular revision to that American Rescue Plan, it might come out that way, but we will wait and see. That's why I want to kind of like to hear this.
Tom, when's the deadline like that?
For the money has to be allocated. In other words, written down, it's going to buy a new public health facility or to build one by December 31st, 2024, and all the money has to be spent by December 31st, 2026. So there's plenty of time to spend it. Anyway, other questions? With an eye, we're adjourned. We're adjourned.
Did you hear on the news this morning?
Okay, we have a work session with County Engineer Brian Carter regarding the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Good morning, I'm not gonna take a whole lot of your time, but I think you guys have met with a lot of other department heads. I've sat through the work sessions and there's a lot of projects that need done, and it sounds like this funding's gonna help with that, which I think is great. Obviously, at least in the initial language with the bill, is pretty limited on what could go to transportation. In fact, it was almost excluded. There was a little bit of language that was flexible to cities, I think, as far as sewer, water, some utility stuff. However, the revenue loss funds, whatever those end up amounting to, had the greater flexibility. And all I wanted to do is just note that, that if, once you take care of the other needs that you guys have prioritized, public health building, and I think you're looking at, stuff with Colin and all the other stuff, there's been conversations all directions. We certainly have plenty of bridges that we could put money towards if there's something left over. So, that's probably the direction we go, is towards the structure. I don't know if it'd be a full replacement or be a couple different deck jobs or whatever it'd be, kind of depends on the amount of money. But that's probably right now from what I see as a need. We obviously have some pavement rehab or replacement projects that we could certainly take on, but that conversation we had going forward. I'm not gonna sit here and daydream until we start talking, but as I wanted to mention it because it does take some time to get any kind of a project, whether it be paving, whether it be a bridge, to the point of being able to bid it and getting it out the right time for proper, competitive, bids and stuff like that. So, and especially if we start talking some sort of a bridge project or a couple different multiple bridge projects, I need to get a consultant on board and start looking at plans and stuff like that. So, and I can handle paying for the consultant in-house. That's not the financial side of it, it's just timing. I mean, it just takes time, so.
You said a deck job, is that $250,000? Is that with the money that you said on that? I couldn't remember.
I would probably have to say, if you're gonna go replace an entire deck these days, especially with the increases, you're probably looking at $300 to $350, just very rough. I can't say as we've done one in a long time, so I could certainly be off one direction or the other, but and the problem then you get into is what other repairs. Like, we were out at Gear last week to see chain drags. We just had a contractor do a bunch of chain drags, and that's an example of a bridge that will probably be a full deck. Some of the others I have a consultant right now evaluating 8 different bridges and figuring out what kind of work those need. And we were in that process anyway, so really, if there is some, like I said, kind of leftover ARPA funding, or if the new bill that some of the language they brought in allows some more flexibility. And again, I know there's priorities ahead of that, and I get it. Those are important things also. But if there is some flexibility on the current ARPA funds, or the revenue loss funds already had the flexibility built into them, I'm gonna start preparing for the possibility of some of those funds to be able to go towards perhaps a project or two that we could accelerate and allow another project to come into our 5-year program. So.
You said you've got bridges that don't need a full deck replacement, that's some that just need some,
Deck, I mean, there's all sorts of projects you can do where you're not doing a full replacement, but to lump them into two main categories, if you start talking about a full deck replacement, obviously you remove the entire deck, you probably are doing some work to the substructure as far as maybe the abutment or the beams or something like that, and then you just put a new deck back on top. And that's the more expensive of the two. The other would be more like a deck overlay, where they've done that, like the DOT did that on a couple of these overpasses a couple years ago in town, where you basically mill down a couple inches, basically to the top layer of steel. You do any patching you need to do, and then you basically put a new deck surface over top of it.
those are the only 2 ways of, now you said they just dragged, they just did the chain drag or whatever on overall?
I had given them 8 different bridges, which, I mean, I've been in discussions about that That's been in the works for 6 months. That isn't something related to ARPA funds, that's something related to me looking at long-range planning and long-range, because we are very limited. The needs we have are no different than anybody else, are far greater than the money we have when you start looking at the big budget. And so trying to figure out the worst of the worst and prioritize where you're gonna spend your money is the biggest challenge we face.
Right on.
And so that's what they were in for. They were in and basically, I had two guys from our consulting firm come and do chain drags on 8 different bridges to, and that basically helps you identify the worst spots and how many there are on a bridge deck.
And see, that was my point I was trying to get to. I just wasn't sure if after the chain drags, if just the only option is to mill it down and put some on, or if you do patching, something like that. I was just wondering if there were.
Comes to the magnitude of what they find, both above and the top. So the chain drag's on the surface, but then they'll go underneath and start looking for deterioration from the bottom up. Highway 99 bridge is actually a good example of that situation where you could look at the surface, and actually the surface of that bridge really didn't look horrible. I mean, it was narrow and everything else, but if you start to go underneath, all of a sudden you start seeing concrete falling off. So there's 2 sides to that. And so they do both, and they will ultimately basically give me more or less a report on the bridges and kind of what they found, and then I will push them to give me some almost unofficial opinions wise of, okay, here's of your 8 bridges, here's the worst, and here, you know, it starts to taper down from there. And ARPA funds are not, again, that's just the process. No different than I'm sure any other department, calling IT, looking at servers or whatever it is, and everybody looking at their department, what do we need this, what's our highest priority? Ours just tend to be more expensive sometimes, so.
Some of those are gifts from the state.
Well,
some of those are gifts from the
we
state,
spent
like
a lot-
Highway 99, Highway 34.
we spent a lot of money on gifts from the state.
Gifts from the state.
I mean, it's
Right.
almost scary. I was looking at the other day or thinking about that, of how
I
much
was like, thank
money
you.
we've spent on stuff from the state, and it's a lot of money. And we're gonna continue that trend, because one of our next big projects that we're already working on is that next bridge to the north on Highway 99, and you know, what you guys are aware of, and that's already in the works. The funding's already lined up, and that's not the bridge we're talking about, so, and there, we have a couple bridges that need replaced too, that we're gonna keep dragging our feet because we don't have the money for those. So that's just what I want to mention, that at that latter portion of this process sorts out, that I'm be thrilled to go get a couple projects done that either, again, would accelerate them. And if you accelerate, that allows something else to come into its spot. And so,
How long, let's say, you know, the board tells you in a year or 2 years, something like that, you know, that we're gonna be able to spend $1 million. So how long would it take to get, let's say, a bridge replacement, repair, redeck, whatever you're gonna do, something like that, and
get it to a point.
after you've got to, I mean, because it all has to be spent in a certain time period, so is
We would be
once
able to hit that.
I mean, so what I'm saying is, if you said, okay, we've got enough to do this bridge or something like that, how long would it take from saying go ahead? Would it be a year and a half, 2 years?
No, I think we'd accelerate. I mean, so here's probably what's gonna happen. I've been in this position multiple times in my career where rarely is it funding like this, but it's always funding related, where maybe there's rumors of a competitive grant, or there's rumors about, or there's a grant, sometimes there's cyclic grants. And transportation doesn't see a ton of grants, I just wanna note that. Cities do get access, I mean, Tiger Grant, you guys talked about that this morning. But as far as counties, there's not a ton of grants as far as big picture.
Why is that?
Because replacing bridges isn't sexy. And it's just not, people don't.
We don't have a main street, so.
It's the truth, you're not putting in handicap accessible ramps, and it's not that bang. It's not that, it's a bridge, to us, to the farmers, a bridge out on a gravel road is a really big deal. to people that are writing grants, that doesn't get you a lot of votes or whatever you wanna call it. I would guess it's a little bit of that dynamic. It's just, you don't see a ton of grants. Well, there is a little bit of safety grant funding, but that's very narrow scoped. It's only state money and it's not, we're not talking big dollars there. I think the biggest, we did get a $500,000 grant. That was towards a paving project once upon a time. And we still chase stuff like that when we can. But
You don't see gravel, every once in a while, you don't see where something comes out where they're giving gravel money away?
I haven't seen gravel money come yet in my life.
Brian, have they talked much in the infrastructure bill that they're trying to get passed in terms of hitting bridges and stuff?
Well, the infrastructure bill is kind of its whole different animal, which will, any new federal highway bill brings with it a whole number. They don't get rid of any of the old headaches, they just bring more headaches into it. And absolutely, it'll supposedly it's gonna bring in, if it gets passed in its current form, there's gonna be quite a bit more money coming to the state level and also to the county level. What are the rules and regs, but ultimately, so we won't know that, but it will go to bridges and paving and that kind of stuff. And they're having conversations more local as, kind of keep in mind this may be coming, but until you really get the bill and they start telling you what the rules are, you don't, I don't know, you don't even get excited when the feds start talking more money, because actually rarely do they actually give you the amount of money they claim. A lot of times the big number is just window dressing and then they don't appropriate the true amount. I've seen that almost every federal highway bill that came along. Or they skim, or they go with pet projects and sell a bunch that's taken off the top. And it's not,
And then let you fight over the scraps afterwards.
So to get too excited about federal money is, federal money is as big a pain of money as it comes. So you want to do more projects, that excites you. The funding source doesn't excite you, yes.
I read something about a month ago that Iowa is like one of the worst in the whole US in terms of bridges, like
absolutely,
bridges
that's it's either first or second. I don't remember the exact.
You would think the state would take that a little more seriously, but.
Well, and it is, and what you'll see is that which is one of the disagreements between the state DOT and counties, is there's been some discussions along the way that the state wouldn't be ranked and we wouldn't be qualifying for some of the grants that we have gotten. And the state has gotten some grants for bridges, it's just, they developed the worst first approach, which I support, and we weren't the ones that had the worst bridge that qualified for whatever round of funding that was. There's been 2 rounds of grants applications that I can think of fairly recently. Louisa County actually got a bridge replaced as part of that, and that's great. You have to look at that as big picture, like, okay, if there's 50 bridges that are the worst bridges in the state, because they come up with kind of criteria to kind of help figure that out rather than just being political. And I think they did a nice job of that. You kind of have to look at that as big picture, as if Louisa County or whatever county you want to talk about, or even the state of Iowa got rid of that bridge. That means, because of the way the formula works, there's a small amount of more money that goes elsewhere. And that bridge is taken care of. And we have approached that, and we qualified for those, the state and the counties have qualified for those funds because we have the worst bridges. And counties are hands down the reason, statistically, that the state is in that position. Counties have far more bridges than the state and cities combined. Which makes sense, because when you look at mileage, the counties dwarf all those also. But again, the state, the big brother, always, it's just, I don't know. It's an interesting relationship. You got to get along with them, but they're not always looking out for our best interests. But absolutely, if that transportation bill comes along, there will be an increase of money somewhere along the lines. Now, what that'll be, I've heard, big numbers. I've sat in meetings where we talk big numbers, and absolutely, if we're anywhere near that, it'll allow us to do more projects. But our spending power has been cut by quite a bit just because of the inflation on construction. So where that all balances, I don't know. And I wouldn't claim to know. We will certainly, we haven't, and always have had a very aggressive program. We'll be sitting there ready. And that's back at the very beginning of that, that's what I was gonna mention to you. There have been situations through the course of my career where there was more than just a rumor. Well, a step above a rumor of possible funding, whether it be a possible grant that might be out there or whatever. And so what I will probably do to make sure that time frame isn't a major issue, is I'll probably pick 2 or 3 of the bridges that we kind of identify out of that process as the worst. And I'll probably go ahead and out of our own budget, go ahead and start working with the consulting firm on a set of plans. Because that is, getting the survey done and getting that set of plans going is probably the longest time frame of getting a bridge to, as long as you don't have major environmental issues. Now, if you got Corps of Engineer issues, then that's a whole different animal, but most of our bridges don't have that major, so.
And once to have the plans made up, that's not something that's gonna deteriorate. I mean, those plans will last.
Yeah.
If you can't get it to it for another 5 years, the plan should still be good. I realize
Well,
it's not forever.
the 2 or 3 that I'll target, which will be the worst, are likely hovering already in the last 3 to 5 years of our program already.
Okay.
So, point being is there, I have 5 or 6 just bridge deck type jobs in the tail end of our program, construction program, but they're out there because the funding, we're gonna go spend over $1 million on the next bridge north on Highway 99.
Mhm.
Well, then you sit on your hands, because after you spend that kind of money, you gotta wait for it to build back up. And that's why those are out there and not this year or next year. That's all part of the budgeting, and I kind of explain it to you once a year during construction program, but it's what we live in our office. We're always looking and figuring out and moving around and talking and all that sort of stuff. So in this situation, and a great example of this is the truss bridge, the big ditch bridge clear up in the North Bottoms. I came to you guys, might have been a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and said there's a possible grant cycle coming up. They're talking about another bridge grant cycle. It'd be the second one of what I was talking to Colin about. And that's a big enough bridge that I want to try to be ready for it. So I got a contract lined up, ran it to the Board of Supervisors, and we have preliminary plans now ready for that particular bridge, because that was the bridge I was going to apply for. It ended up, they took 8 bridges in that cycle. We were like 11th. So we were close. I mean, there was never a guarantee out of 99 counties that we were going to be up in that top portion. And they still don't know if they've got the money. I mean, that happened, that whole thing got submitted right in the Trump to Biden transition process, and everything came to a complete halt, and then brand new rules came out with all sorts of new terminology but point being is that's an example of where we looked ahead, we spent some money, got a set of plans, not to the final stages. So you ask, do they sit on the shelf? Well, if you push them to the final stages and you wait 5 years, then you're gonna go back and have to make a few changes because specifications change, stuff like that. But you push them to preliminary stages where you know your length, you know your layout, you know the general design, and then you can pick it up from there. You've gotten rid of a lot of work, but you really don't have a lot of rehab on those plans to get them going again. So, it's just, and that's all, we do the same thing in-house, so we do all of our own pavement design and pavement plans and everything else. If I see a possibility of something coming, I'll have the guys go ahead and start working towards a survey. I might go ahead and get some environmental stuff going on something. Sometimes those blow away in the wind and they never happen. And I tell the guys, because that can be frustrating, we need to spend some time on this, because if it happens, go back to the Obama shovel-ready stuff. We had already started working on an asphalt overlay project, because shovel-ready is that's not reality in construction, but that was the terminology used at that time. And so we started ahead of time on that. And again, none of this is any different than the planning that any other office does. It's just sometimes it's bigger dollar amounts. So, and longer time frames. So,
And a request that you use some of the ARP funds for asphalt.
huh?
Excuse me?
You had a request?
I have a request that you use some of the ARP money for asphalt.
I will make no
And
guarantees.
I've got a road in particular.
Yes. I can make a guarantee on that road.
We should have a work session, anybody who would like their road paved.
We're gonna need a bigger,
And set aside the month of this, of January and this February and March.
boy, do I look forward to that.
And hold it down at the auditorium.
Yeah.
We've only got 450 miles of gravel roads, so it shouldn't take long.
Yeah.
But mine's more important.
Get Valley
You're
Park.
right.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you
You're
for
right,
bringing that up.
absolutely, that's the truth. So, anyway, I just wanted to mention it, and everybody else had come in a work session, and so I thought I'd mention that, and we'll just see what all actually passes, what the language truly is and limits, and go from there. And, you know, clearly if I go sign or get a contract lined up on a structure, you're gonna know it anyway, because I run it through the board of supervisors, so there's nothing we do that you don't already know about. I just thought doing a work session was probably the appropriate way to mention it, so.
I appreciate it.
So, and if we decide to spend ARPA funds on it, we'll probably have another work session to make sure, you know, we normally do this in a construction program hearing. I wanna make sure that the board of supervisors are on board with the direction we're going. I'll lay out the logic, it'll be kind of like a mini program, only it won't be the 5-year program, it'll be, here's the direction we're gonna head. They will come into our 5-year program, but I'm assuming the way this has to be spent, it'll probably have to be like we did, almost like 99 Bridge, where Cheryl would actually, where the auditor's office actually write a check, we'll just manage the entire project, because you still got state requirements on money that you can give the road department, money, you know, amounts and everything else, so.
Is there a minimum? That, you know, is there an amount that you say, well, if it comes down to this and this is all you can give me, you might as well just invest that somewhere else?
Well, you just do smaller projects, you look
Okay.
at smaller priorities.
It's all in it, Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, so, I'll never turn down extra transportation money, because we always have needs. I mean, we just did a $26,000 crack sealing job on Mediapolis Road. Well, if you look at all of our construction expenditures, that might be the smallest for a long time. But for that 6 miles, and the way that Centerline crack is opening up, that's a big deal. So, I mean, it's just a matter, so, no, I don't think right now I would say it was a minimum. I mean, $1,000 doesn't get us very far, but, you know, that's, I'm probably talking bigger projects than that, to truly have an impact on the overall.
I got you.
So, and that's all I wanted to hit, so,
Thank you, Brian.
thanks for your time.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Well, then I guess, we're adjourned. There's a project tour for the, on the agenda as a work session.